Live from multiple locations via the miracle of Skype, it's the LTN Hour. Let's talk NASCAR with your host, Todd Bailing. Co-host, Ed Kaluka. Featuring dangerous Dan Margetta. And Brian Schmidt. LTN is a caller-driven program, and your participation is encouraged by calling 414-421-7901. That's 414-421-7901. Now, the creator and host of the fastest hour in radio, Todd Bailing.
And we're ready for the race season to begin as is program today. Welcome to the program. Wisconsin. Morning, Eddie.
Good morning, Todd. Today is a day of gas mileage and patience.
Patience. Speaking of patience, here's a couple of guys that have patiently waited right at Radio Row in the fan zone in the infield of the Daytona International Speedway. Dan Margetta and Brian Schmidt. What's the weather like today, boys?
It's gorgeous today. It's almost perfect. About 75 degrees, I think, for a high and sunny. Really no rain. You couldn't ask for any better weather all week. We had a little bit on Friday night that kind of messed the truck race up, but other than that, it's been spectacular. It's NASCAR's 75th season, and pretty great to be a part of it here at Radio Row, Ryan.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is Chamber of Commerce weather, which they get down here occasionally if we can keep the wet stuff away, and it looks like today we will. But, yeah, beautiful. A little chilly yesterday. People in Wisconsin are probably scoffing at us, but it was a little chilly during the Xfinity race yesterday. But right now it's 72 degrees and just a couple of fluffy white clouds in the sky.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now tell me, it wasn't a perfect week at the short tracks, though. We had our share of rain, right?
The only one was really on Friday. Friday night, they rained out a couple of events, and they got most of them in, and that's when we were here at the truck race. And it really wasn't a hard rain. It was just a steady sea mist, which you get the track dry. I'm thinking if they were running on a short track, they probably would have been able to keep going, at least right here. And over at New Smyrna, it was a little more wet, so they weren't able to finish their races out there. But other than that, since we've arrived on Tuesday, it's been beautiful here.
That's just
only about 3 or 4 dirt races rained out also.
Yeah, the only one was Friday night this week. They had a couple last week, but this week they got everything in except for Friday night's events.
Well, that's not too terribly bad. Alex Bowman will start on the pole. Another front row step. Boy, Hendrick has just owned the front row here for qualifying. The magic speed was 181.686, a race car on the track by itself, which, of course, you don't see at all. Just under 50 seconds. 49:53 was the time to do that. And Kyle Larson will start right alongside in a pair of Hendrick Chevrolets. The winners of the Thursday Twin 150 qualifying races, Joey Logano and Eric Almirola, will be the second row starters. Interesting contrast in those two qualifying races, guys. One went very well and one not as much.
That's usually what happens. If you got a wild one in the first one, the second one's pretty tame. If you got a tame one in the first one, the action happens in race number 2, and that's what happened there, too. The first race went pretty much caution-free. I think it did go caution-free and raced pretty well, I thought, through that deal when at the end of that deal. Then the second race, Suarez got into Kyle Busch in the backstretch, which kind of triggered the one and only big crash in that event, but it took a little longer in the first one.
A little bit longer. The segments, the word was just on the tip of my tongue. The segments today are at lap 65, lap 130, and, of course, it's a 200-lap race without overtime. That's, kind of questionable because I would say it's probably going to go over 200 laps. That became an issue yesterday in the Xfinity Series where we had cars starting to run out of gas just because on the last gas and go they didn't quite put enough into it. What an X factor to get thrown in to that race in the Xfinity Series yesterday, and 8 sets of tires. Ed, we know that you can't go 50 laps without needing gas, so this is a slam dunk. 65. The question I would have, what are you going to have to pit for, tires or gas?
Gas this race. Tires, you guys been down there and following that a little bit more than I have, but it seems to me that tires could go the distance if they had to.
Yeah, I haven't heard any kind of issues with tires. Other than a puncture, you got to change it, but no one's really wore them out and been terrible that way.
Correct. Yeah, there hasn't been any. It's kind of surprising because when you walk on the track, you would think it would be more of an issue because it is very abrasive, but because you're such a sweeping turn and you're not cornering, you know.
Well, they're running on such a hard tire there because the highest G loads of any racetrack we go to that I know from my wheel business days is the entry to turn 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The entry to turn 4 is the highest G load of any racetrack in a whole entire series. So if you get a wheel built to survive at Daytona, you'll be fine everywhere.
Wow, that's something. And then even as far as practice goes, I mean, nobody really, all the manufacturers kind of hook up by themselves. I mean, after we saw a little bit in the duels when they all were together, but as far in practice, all the Hendrick cars worked with the Legacy Motor Club cars, the old Petty cars. They're together. Childress cars worked with the Trackhouse cars, all Chevys. The Toyotas all hooked up together. Joe Gibbs and 2311, they all hooked up together. The Fords were Penske and Stuart Haas seemed to work together. And then it was Roush and Front Row were together. And the Fords would go out and lead the session and look like they're fast, and all of a sudden the Chevys show up and they go up on top. And then the Toyotas were the ones that never really showed up. So I'm not sure what they showed everything they got or not, because guys like Hamlin and those guys in those Toyotas are usually up front at the end of these races here at Daytona and Talladega. So I don't really know you could pick a favorite. If I had to pick a strongest car out there right now, I'd say Ryan Blaney just from watching. But other than that, it's a total crapshoot who's going to win this thing.
Well, the interesting thing to me was in the duels is that when the poor timing of the Chevrolet's pit stop, all pitting together, they fell 8 to 9 seconds behind the Fords and never caught up. And Denny Hamlin said, we don't have a team group. We just fall in wherever we might be.
Yeah, they've got 6 pretty darn good ones, though. I can't really say that.
You think so? I think the Toyotas suck here.
Well, yeah. Yes, I would agree, Ed, in principle. But then again, if they suck so bad, you don't think that they'll be a part of this by the end of 200 laps?
I don't think so, because like Denny Hamlin said, there may be 6 of them, but they aren't as unified as the Fords and the Chevrolets, where their manufacturer says we're all for one.
It's been like that, though, for years, and Denny Hamlin's won, 3 of the last
5 or 6?
6 or 8 of these things, so he always finds a way to get way to the front. He even if other ones fall out, if I remember, I think it was maybe the Monday one that he won a couple of years ago that, he was the only one left, and he still worked his way up there, and he's smart enough. He knows how to operate use the draft, and he's probably one of the most experienced guys out there now if you think about his age and how long he's been doing this. So I wouldn't count those guys out at all, because I think
you might say that this manufacturer thing is more of a in the middle of the race thing. When we get down to the last 25 laps, it seems to me it's all everybody for themselves. Yeah, okay, there's another Ford I suppose I could hook up with, but really, if you got a chance, as we saw with the Hendrick cars yesterday in the Xfinity race, if you have a chance of putting one of your own guys out of the race to win, you'll do it. By the way, Austin Hill won the Xfinity race yesterday. Sam Mayer crashed on the last lap. It was he had a shot to win that thing, but I think the best days for Sam Mayer are not very far ahead. Parker Retzlaff of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, in his first Xfinity race at Daytona, finished 4th.
His first ever race at Daytona. He didn't run a speedway race. We talked to him afterwards. I had to go find that kid because that was such a good run. We found him. It was funny. He's eating his bag of Cheez-Its in the garage. Everybody, like, hey, good run, kid.
Yeah, real matter-of-fact type kid. Walked up to him. He turned around, told him that we had talked to him last year and stuff. And I said, you've never done anything like this before? Never drafted before. Never, he says. But that's where the sim stuff comes in. people knock on these kids that do sim racing. You see people say, oh, he doesn't run the short tracks, this and that. But if you do a lot of sim racing and you do this, you find out and figure out how to do this stuff. It's not as, far-fetched to go from sim to the realistic thing, when your mind is trained on knowing what to do. And I think that's why you're seeing some of these kids succeed quickly in this.
Kids and computers.
I'm sorry, Ed. Our short track guys are at the big track today. Dan Margetta and Brian Schmidt are at Radio Row and right in the infield at Daytona. We will join them again after we take a short break. Stay with us.
PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit PMFlandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
Buckle up, get ready, get set, and get your tickets now as the NASCAR Xfinity Series returns to Wisconsin's Road America in Elkhart Lake, July 27th through the 29th. The smell of fresh rubber and food will fill the air for this weekend, along with the Porsche Carrera Cup for even more racing fun. An amazing, affordable weekend of family fun with camping, food, and more. Kids 16 and under get in free with paid adult. Come for the experience. Stay for the race. Get your tickets today at roadamerica.com. Your national park of speed.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship-winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company, in the heart of Wisconsin, is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at wagnerautomotive.com.
The new episode of the Larrabee and LePay podcast is available now. Wayne and Matt talk with Hall of Fame sports writer Rick Ostlund about the new NFL Hall of Fame class. The Larrabee and LePay podcast presented by UW Credit Union. Available now on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the annual Daytona 500 broadcast. We mentioned Austin Hill won the Xfinity Series race yesterday. The truck race was won by Zane Smith in a rain-shortened event. There were 38 green flag laps run in that race and 41 caution laps. Wow. Ty Majeski ended up 6th in that one. Derek Kraus was 18th in the ARCA race, which we refer to here as the Human Sacrifice 200. Good news, no human sacrifices. Greg Van Alst won it. He was the 2019 CRA champion and won it. Dan, I guess it's a little family-run operation, huh?
Right, he's a short track guy out of Indiana, was the CRA champion in 2019. I didn't have anything on that car coming down to Daytona, put a car together, actually went on Facebook, asked for sponsors, got a couple people to help him out, and put that thing in victory lane. Just a cool all-around deal. And I was thinking of cool things at Daytona. Probably one of the coolest things you ever see at NASCAR races is the flyover. You know, they do the national anthem, and the jets come flying over, and the Thunderbirds are here doing it today, and we're joined by a couple of Thunderbirds right here on the show. It's kind of cool to talk to you guys, man. I would love to get around one of your planes. You know, that's something that looks spectacular. Can you introduce yourself and let you?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Sergeant Tommy Lanty. I am the logistics personnel on our team, making sure that all of our cargo leaves from Las Vegas to any place near you. So it's nice to meet everybody. Thank you.
And I'm Master Sergeant Terrence Lee. I'm the first sergeant of the Thunderbirds. My role is specific to commander's intent, right? So I have to make sure there's good order and discipline, health and morale of the family and force, make sure that I'm the belly button between on-base resources, off-base resources, and our members for whatever they need.
Well, how do you guys go from wherever you were to start out to become a Thunderbird to get to that position? I mean, what is the process? I assume you from the Air Force, obviously, right? So how do you get yourself up to the point to be with the Thunderbirds?
Yes, sir. So we're all active duty members, but this unit is selectively manned. So depending on which one of the 30 positions that we have or 30 jobs that we have that are open, we'll advertise through Air Force channels, and then you have to submit a package, right? That package has your record, has your physical, your PT. It has everything that you've done in your career to say that to the team.
Eval.
An interview as well, right? So the interview is kind of where you can wow people that want to make sure that you're articulate, that you need to plan, and you can go out and advance this narrative, right? This togetherness that we have.
Exactly.
You got anything for him, Todd? Todd, you're an ex-military individual.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service, Todd.
Thank you. But the only question I would have is, so you have the Thunderbirds at the Daytona 500, and yet at Luke Air Force Base, right here in Phoenix, Arizona, we had the U.S. Navy Blue Angels do the flyover for the Super Bowl last week. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's a travesty. We love our brothers and sisters at the Blue Angels, but we know they're playing for second because we run this.
That's great.
There you go. By the way, the Navy flyover at the Super Bowl was all females. I bet you can't say that with the Thunderbirds on.
We cannot say that, but we've had an all-female crew to include our pilot and the crew chiefs, and I don't think the Navy has ever done that before. Also, we hired female pilots prior to the Blue Angels, and we've had more female pilots, so I think we're winning.
All
so
right.
I guess just, if you could go through the process of how today works, like from how you get that timing to be exact. I mean, you're flying over right as the end of the national anthem is going on. I mean, what's the process of getting that to be as precise as it is?
So per our flyovers, as you've probably seen all through this week, we've been practicing. These pilots have been practicing every day, precisely multiple runs a day. They will practice until they get it right? They will practice until we make sure that we're bringing you all the best performance that you can absolutely see. And when we go to different air shows, we also time, and then during debrief, they go ahead and they make sure that they make the proper adjustments so that the next show can be better and better and better and better so that they can better themselves. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what you guys don't see is that there's other pieces to the puzzle as well. The pilots are practicing, but the enlisted members are on the ground, right? So we have shining and timing. Everybody's documenting maneuvers, making sure that we're hitting. We have time on target at the right time, and they practice and practice and practice. We make sure the music lines up. It has to be very precise, and so there's a lot of time behind the scenes that goes into it.
Yeah, we saw you guys practicing the other morning. It scared the heck out of me driving down the street. And I mean, we're in Oostburg, Wisconsin. I don't see jet fighters flying over a lot, so all of a sudden, like, what the heck is that?
So that's what we love the most, right? Absolutely. Whether it's at a show or a flyover, we love to see the crowd's reactions when the sneak pass comes by. You hear that sound of freedom, that thunder in your bones. That's the best part.
And I guess you guys, you got to take some of the drivers up, I think, this week. I think, was it Jimmy Johnson go up there with you guys?
We did. We got to meet Jimmy Johnson. And the king, Mr. Petty himself, came out, introduced himself to everybody. This is the coolest job ever.
Yeah, it is.
The king didn't go up in the air, did
he? He did not. No, I don't think his body could take that. But
did Jimmy bag it?
Mr. Johnson did well. I think he pulled 9.1 Gs, dude.
Yeah, 9 Gs.
But he said he passed out.
Passed out.
I don't blame him. 9 Gs is a lot for anyone. So, exactly. I don't blame him. Noah also went up prior. So, they've definitely had a very fun week before their drive.
That'd be cool for Noah. He's a Vegas guy.
Yes, I found it out this week. So
funny fact, Mr. Johnson went up same time our number 10 officer did, right? She's 5'4". She's a little lady, right? She pulled more G's than Jimmy did. And so I had to let Jimmy know, saying, hey, she beat you, sir.
Thanks a lot for coming out and being a part of this, guys. Man. This is one of the neatest deals. I like air shows. I like things that go fast. I like NASCAR racing, and I like air shows, and it just amazes me what you guys all do and how close that is. And that's a great skill, and thanks for your service.
Yeah, thank you very much for your service. Enjoy the race.
Thank you.
The Air Force Thunderbirds, awesome to have them stop by, no doubt. Hey, it's funny you should mention the guys you did because King Richard, Jimmy Johnson, Noah Gregson, that's all part of the newly rebranded Legacy Motorsports Club that apparently Jimmy Johnson renamed himself. And this week we come to hear from Richard Petty, who does not sound like he's overly thrilled with the way things are going with his race team. The 85-year-old came out this week with some comments, which we're going to talk about after we take a little bit of a break. We're glad you tuned in on Daytona 500 Sunday. LTN returns on the Big 920 right after these.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit BonafideSafe.com.
Miller Sales and Service is the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer for customer service and satisfaction. Serving the area since 1939, Miller's is located on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. As the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer, Miller's has all kinds of Bravo trailers from 8 feet to 48 feet in stock. They also have a selection of B&B utility and dump trailers, reliable and Chilton open aluminum and steel trailers. With over 50 pre-owned low-mileage cars, trucks, and SUVs, Miller's has just the vehicle you are looking for. Miller's also carries a full line of Alumacraft boats and Manitou pontoon boats, complete with Evinrude outboards. Why not buy from racers who know what racers want and need? With Miller's Sales and Service on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. Call Jerry, Tom, or Brad Miller today at 920-994-4358. That's Miller's Sales and Service, 920-994-4358.
4 seconds, Max off the wing, spins it out to Asija for 3, and it's blocked, and Wall with a tip now, and Rutgers wins it.
Time for the Badgers to get back on the winning track.
Sends it to Jordan Davis for 3, left side, got it!
The Wisconsin Badgers homestand continues as they host Iowa this Wednesday night.
We still got a lot of season left, so we can still turn it around, so we just keep our heads up, keep going.
Matt LePay's pregame show at 7, tip at 8 on Milwaukee's home for your Wisconsin Badgers. 97-3 the game.
Getting ready for the Daytona 500. It will be televised on Fox, Channel 6 in Milwaukee. Green flag is at 2:14 this afternoon, okay? There will be plenty of pre-race stuff. In fact, as far as I know, it may have already getting ready to get started. But what you need to know is that's what time we start racing, 2:14. And, of course, you will be able to hear it right here on the Big 920. Richard Petty is 85 years old. He is part of the fabric of NASCAR, one of the all-time great names in NASCAR history. There has been a team owned by a Petty and with the name Petty on the front door since 1949. And this year, the Petty name is gone. Jimmy Johnson bought into the team and renamed the team himself. Richard is not a happy camper. He says it bothers him about the rise in power that Jimmy Johnson has had. He's making all the calls. Richard is, starting to feel left out a little bit. I would say, at 85 years old, I think I would welcome the new blood so you can back off just a little bit and enjoy rather than have so much daily responsibility as the King has had over all these years.
And I'd like to see how that interview actually went, too. I mean, he's probably, not happy about, he's going to be fading out. I mean, a lot of these guys are getting older, and you can't be happy about not being a part of it anymore. But I can't imagine it was that negative. Maybe he was just, maybe it went as I understand what's going on here, and it's not, personally it's not happy, but maybe he understands it. I don't know. I didn't see the actual interview, but I'm not sure it needed as much negative press as it got.
Right. I mean, Jimmy Johnson's the perfect person for that position, to bring in probably one of the most successful guys around. Now you're teaming that up with one who's phasing out. I mean, at 85 years old, obviously you're not as sharp as you once were. So to bring in a guy like Jimmy Johnson, who's also going to drive the cars occasionally, so he'll know exactly what's going on.
47 years old.
Yeah, I mean, to me it's kind of surprising to hear that, but like Dan said, I didn't see the interview, and things get skewed in the media. Imagine that, right? So I'm thinking maybe that's more.
I mean,
likely what happened.
These guys that are our heroes, Brian, they're getting older. I mean, we saw Bobby Allison at the show at the hotel, and you can tell he's getting older, and he's still getting around, but it's a lot slower than he used to be.
Right.
It kind of reminds me of Stuart Haas. When Haas brought in Stuart, he knew what he was doing because he needed Stuart to become a better club, and it's the same at Petty. It's too bad that Petty doesn't understand what Jimmy Johnson is going to bring to that club.
And I think since they've met, and I think it's kind of been cleared up. I'm not sure it needed to be spun the way it spun or the way it got out, the way it went. When the story got out, it kind of took a negative turn. I didn't know if it needed to be that far.
And now I'm going to have to say that since you didn't see it, it came from Dave Moody. Yeah, Dave Moody, the same Dave Moody, the self-proclaimed Godfather. He asked Richard point blank if it bothered him, and the answer was, yes, it does. So if you haven't seen that interview yet, I would suggest finding it. It's out there somewhere. Folks, you'll want to hear this. But, you're being phased out just a little bit. Bringing in new blood is not a bad thing. The car has been pretty much a mid-packer, and they're trying to make it championship material. Bringing a guy, like Jimmy Johnson, I can't imagine that would hurt your organization in the least.
I also that Jimmy brings in a connection to Hendrick.
Yeah, how about that, too? By the way, Hendrick recommended against Jimmy Johnson to take on that leadership role, I found out secondhand. And when Johnson painted the picture for Mr. Hendrick, his deal, Hendrick says, if I were you, I would jump at that. So that's secondhand, but it's interesting. And so it's a done deal. Richard, is used to having his hands in everything, and they're just having him back off a little bit. I can't imagine it's a bad thing. Just enjoy the ride, Richard. You deserve to sit back and watch your team and see where it's going and sign autographs and show them pearly white teeth. If anybody wants to talk to us, by the way, 414-421-7901, and you can do just that. A couple of things happened this week. Alex Bowman re-signed a 3-year contract. He was one of the guys whose contract was going to end at the end of this year. A 3-year extension for him. Coincidentally and interestingly, Ally signed a 5-year extension. So whether or not Bowman sticks around after 3 years, Ally will still be on the 48 car. And Daniel Suarez signed a multi-year extension to stay in the number 99 car, which is not a surprise as far as I'm concerned.
And think of your free agent drivers already at the beginning of the year are coming off the board. You had with Bowman, and then you had Suarez, and then also Ross Chastain last week did the same thing. So Trackhouse locked their guys down for a couple of years.
Oh, I didn't know that he re-signed that deal. Well, that's interesting because Chastain's name was kicked around as a possible replacement for Harvick. So that name taken off the board, that's a kind of a big deal right there. Interesting stuff. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see, like next year when Harvick, they need something to replace him, who they go for. I don't know. Maybe is Priest still in the wings and that way. There'll be a commercial today. Actually, Busch took out a tribute commercial for Harvick during the race today. I saw a quick preview of it, and it actually is pretty cool. There's a couple cool ones. There's that one, and there's one from Goodyear that Bill Elliott's going to narrate to be on during the 500. So, the Super Bowl always has, if it watches it for some of the commercials, well, the Daytona 500 is going to have two pretty cool ones there.
That's pretty cool. Ed, in about a minute and a half, can you talk about the LTN Fantasy League?
Yeah, it's the LTN Radio Network Fantasy League, and for you people that'd like to get some new interest in NASCAR plus win some big money, if you join our Fantasy League at LTN Radio on Fantasy Live, you get to pick 5 drivers and put one in the garage, and then there's a couple other questions on the bottom, and it makes it more interesting for you to get involved in the race and compete with our fellow LTN competitors and the LTN Radio Network fantasy page.
And Dan,
$10 grand if you get it right today.
Brian, you mentioned, how about that? Brian, you mentioned that there's some prize money that comes from where?
It's part of NASCAR.com, so probably, through NASCAR itself. So the highest highest point total for today. It's not an easy thing to do, so it's not like this is a high odds of getting it. But
that's for everybody.
Everybody,
just the LTN
yes.
group.
Yeah, that's for everybody, not the LTN group. We do it amongst ourselves, and you can create. We don't have a prize fund for our own deal, but you're also competing against everybody who enters that thing, and there's close to 500,000 people that usually enter that.
That LTN site's getting more popular all the time. We're gonna sneak away for a break. We're glad you tuned in on Daytona 500 Sunday. Dan and Brian in the infield, and Ed and I will all return right after these.
Buckle up, get ready, get set, and get your tickets now as the NASCAR Xfinity Series returns to Wisconsin's Road America in Elkhart Lake, July 27th through the 29th. The smell of fresh rubber and food will fill the air for this weekend, along with the Porsche Carrera Cup for even more racing fun. An amazing, affordable weekend of family fun with camping, food, and more. Kids 16 and under get in free with paid adult. Come for the experience, stay for the race. Get your tickets today at roadamerica.com. Your national park of speed.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
The big weekend for the Milwaukee Admirals continues when they take on the Texas Stars at Panther Arena. Dasney to the front of the net, tipped, and he scored! Sunday at 3, pregame at 2:30 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app. Finally, in 12 rounds, the Milwaukee Admirals have their 5th straight win.
Welcome back to the Daytona 500 edition of LTN. Great that you could join us. Let's go to the telephones. Tom is waiting in Hartford, Wisconsin. Tom, let's talk NASCAR.
Good morning. I just have problems with some of the TV coverage. I know that NASCAR listens, so maybe we can get that message to them. Like the last 5 laps or something like that. When particularly at Daytona, where these drivers are really jockeying for positions, they get these in-car cameras, and then it's like real race fans or real true race fans, really are really concerned about how the whole overall picture looks. We're not just I don't know. It's just frustrating to me, but it's it just
they're doing their best. They're trying something different. I think that those in-cars should be used for perhaps replays more than actual what's happening on the last lap. But they're doing their best to bring us the best coverage, and we do appreciate that. I would say you'd agree with that, Larry, right?
Yeah, we're talking with Tom from Hartford.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. And Tom, we thank you for the call. Your comments are noted.
I agree with that in-car thing. I'd rather see the outside footage to see what's going on. And as far as in-cars are cool, and like Todd said, for replays. Did you notice the helmet cam that's on Fox now that's new, and they pixelated the dashboards because the drivers don't want that information getting out there?
That's why they're pixelated like that?
That's why. What's so secretive about RPMs and temperatures?
I saw that and I couldn't figure it out.
That's really bad about that in-car stuff. I mean, that's what I would like about an in-car shot. Other than that, it seems that Michael Waltrip is the one that loves that crap.
That's okay. It's all part of the experience. Speaking of Larry, let's talk to Larry from Pewaukee here on line 2. Hi, Larry.
Morning, guys. Happy Daytona Day.
You bet.
I just wanted to let you and your listeners know that according to the Milwaukee Journal TV section, on Channel 6 tonight at 11:05 p.m. is that show, interview show, In Depth with Graham Bensinger, and his guest is Joey Logano.
That's at 11 o'clock tonight on Channel, what'd you say, 6?
Channel 6, 11:05 tonight.
Okay.
In Depth with Graham Bensinger.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good interview show. That's really, and it's called In Depth because those interviews do get in depth. I mean, he doesn't just ask, canned questions that are come off a sheet. I mean, he does his homework and he asks pretty deep questions and makes the guys think and give good answers.
No kidding. Hey, I don't know if anybody noticed, but Johnny Sauter was not in the truck race on Friday night after he had already agreed to drive the number 47 truck, and it was an interesting set of circumstances. One of the sponsors on the truck was some website called divorce.com. Johnny Sauter is a devout Catholic, and the Catholic religion, as you Catholics know, aren't big on promoting divorce. And Johnny's told them, either take it off the truck or I'm not driving it. And they said, but we got money from him. And he said, well, then you need a driver. And true to his own convictions, told him that he wasn't going to drive the divorce.com number 47. Now, the other side of the coin was, I don't believe Johnny would have done himself any favors in that truck either. That's the one that he had some disparaging comments about last year, didn't he, Brian?
Correct. Yeah, we talked to Johnny on Tuesday night after the super late model race at New Smyrna about it, and he said too, the guy had pestered him all winter to drive the truck, and finally after like the 10th call, he finally took it and talked to the guy, and the guy offered him a decent sum to drive it. So, but then he didn't tell him what the sponsorship was. So Johnny said once he found out about that, he says, how do I teach my kids anything when that's what's going to be on the side of my truck? And that's the number one thing he made a point to tell us was, this is what my family is going to see me drive around in, and that's just not right. So they put in that truck instead.
Norm Benning.
Yeah, and he didn't make the race.
Well. It's so a driver with actual convictions that stood by them and told them.
That's pretty awesome,
Yeah, I think so too. I said, that makes sense because at the time that news had just broke Tuesday night, and when we were talking to him afterwards, he kind of explained what happened, and we said, hey, I got to tip my hat to that. That's standing by your convictions. And he says, yeah, it's not a truck that he thought he was going to have a shot to win in, really anyway. So, yeah. And as it turns out, it didn't even make the race.
Yeah, there you go. Well, way to go, Johnny. We our hats off to you. That's for sure.
I got one more mention about the LTN.
Oh yeah,
Fantasy League. Somebody texted and want to know how you get into it. You go to Fantasy Live and then just go to LTN, and that's the name of our league. Is
Fantasy
LTN.
Live is how you get to it.
Off of NASCAR.com.
NASCAR.com, Fantasy Live, LTN.
Okay.
That's
all right.
it.
And we have another caller waiting. Steve in Jackson, Wisconsin. Hi, Steve.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Great.
Question for you. Natalie Decker ran yesterday in ARCA. She wasn't mentioned once. I'm not a fan of her, but I'm kind of wondering. She wasn't mentioned once. Wasn't mentioned any positions. Nothing at all. What's going on with that? They didn't even mention her out of the 5 girls. They had a picture of her, didn't even say her name through the whole race. Any ideas? I'll hang up and listen to your message.
I'm not sure why. I mean, she ran the whole race, and in the beginning she kind of faded back and kind of stayed out of the big pack for a while. She was 8th coming to the white flag, and then they had that incident, the 66 car spun, and that was right in front of her. She finished 14th, so she's completed every lap and did the race. I didn't know why they didn't include her with the other female drivers because there were like 6 of them in that race, and I thought, she was there. I mean, she didn't do anything wrong. She finished 14th.
Mandy Chick was kind of the one that took most of the publicity, I guess, for the female drivers because she finished 5th, and she's a engineering student at Rose-Hulman Institute in Terre Haute. So that was kind of a big deal to see someone that's actually in the business wanting to become an engineer in the racing thing, drive her own car and run as well as she did. So that's probably why. Amber Balkan started in the very back, and an old friend of ours, who's Daryl Phillips, is working on that car now. So we talked to her. Had an unfortunate incident in qualifying where the oil cooler blew up on that car, so that she had to start at the back. They had to put a whole new engine in, and she worked her way up to 6th place from the back in one of those Venturini cars. And Amber Balkan, an interesting side note on her, her dad used to race dirt late models with us in the Wissota country, and I had a chance to catch up with him yesterday on pit road. And that is not a family-funded a team where the dad and the parents are bringing a bunch of money. He flat out said, hey, I don't have a whole lot of money. He says, I run my own team. She goes out and finds her own sponsors, kind of a lot what Josh Balicki does, and put this together with this Icon Direct to get the money to put herself in this car. So he says, it's not something, this is not one of those pay-to-play deals from my side. He said, she's going out and doing her own deal. So applaud her for that.
He said she sent out 1,000 proposals and got one back.
Yeah, and it was enough to get the deal done for her to run a full season in the Venturini car. So that's cool.
That's a lot of hard work right there.
That's very interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad to hear that somebody does it. Hey, by the way, Tony Stewart is going to run full-time in a series this year. You say full-time? Well, it must be SRX. Well, if you want to call it 6 races full-time. No. Tony Stewart is going to be a drag racer full-time this year, so he can be at the racetrack with his wife. But the series is Top Alcohol. And unfortunately, that's not any of the stuff that you're going to see on television. They don't show Top Alcohol. It's one of the lower divisions. So, but then again, he's just getting his feet wet in this whole drag racing thing. We're very glad you tuned in. We're getting ready to sneak away for another break. And when we come back, oh my goodness, are there the results? We're going to squeeze it into 10 minutes for you when we come back.
Miller Sales and Service is the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer for customer service and satisfaction. Serving the area since 1939, Miller's is located on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. As the Midwest's #1 Bravo trailer dealer, Miller's has all kinds of Bravo trailers from 8 feet to 48 feet in stock. They also have a selection of B&B utility and dump trailers, reliable and Chilton open aluminum and steel trailers. With over 50 pre-owned low-mileage cars, trucks, and SUVs, Miller's has just the vehicle you are looking for. Miller's also carries a full line of Alumacraft boats and Manitou pontoon boats, complete with Evinrude outboards. Why not buy from racers who know what racers want and need? With Miller's Sales and Service on the corner of Highway 57 and K in Random Lake. Call Jerry, Tom, or Brad Miller today at 920-994-4358. That's Miller's Sales and Service, 920-994-4358.
Buckle up, get ready, get set, and get your tickets now as the NASCAR Xfinity Series returns to Wisconsin's Road America in Elkhart Lake, July 27th through the 29th. The smell of fresh rubber and food will fill the air for this weekend, along with the Porsche Carrera Cup for even more racing fun. An amazing, affordable weekend of family fun with camping, food, and more. Kids 16 and under get in free with paid adult. Come for the experience, stay for the race. Get your tickets today at roadamerica.com. Your national park of speed.
PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
The NASCAR Cup Series.
Kyle Larson from the outside lane crosses the start-finish line.
2023 season gets underway in Daytona.
Denny Hamlin gets turned and they're wadding it up in the back of the pack.
For the great American race.
And at age 23, Austin Cindric has scored the Daytona 500 win.
It's the Daytona 500.
The link to the race is on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Look up the Big 920.
And now the LTN Hour presents Dirt on the Dirt with Brian Schmidt.
Yes, this was the final week of Speed Weeks 2023. We'll start Monday, Tampa, Florida, East Bay Raceway Park. The All-Star Circuit of Champions sprint cars were there. Night number 1, 6,000 to win. Tyler Courtney picked up the win there. Also Monday night at Volusia Speedway Park outside of Barberville, Florida, the Dirt Car Nationals for the UMP Late Model, 7,000 to win. Hudson O'Neill was your winner. The USAC non-wing sprints were also there. Jake Swanson picked up the win there. Tuesday night, night number 2 for the All-Star Circuit of Champions at East Bay. Tyler Courtney completed the 2-race sweep, picking up the $6,000. Night 2 at Barberville, Florida for the UMP Dirt Car Late Models, 7,000 to win. Tim McCready picked up the win. The second and final night for the USAC Sprints, Days and Persley got the win there. Dan and I went out there on Wednesday night to Volusia. They did triple 20-lap feature events, 5,000 to win each. They had 56 cars there, I believe. Divided them up equally, and the feature winners were Brandon Overton, Tim McCready, and Chris Madden. The Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modifieds were there. Max McLaughlin, that is the son of Mike Magic Shoes McLaughlin from way back time. He picked up the win in the Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modifieds. Thursday night, Cali, Florida, the USAC non-wing sprints headed out there. Brady Bacon picked up the win that night. Tampa, Florida, East Bay Raceway Park, the king of the 360s. Night number 1, Cole Macedo picked up the win. And Dan and I went back to Volusia for night number 2, and that was a hell of a night there, Dan. I would say the Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modifieds were there. Matt Williamson completed a last lap pass to pick up the win in that one.
He ran that guy down from about a straightaway back on that last lap.
Without a caution. Yeah, to do that. And the World of Outlaw Case Construction Late Model Series continued their season. They ran way back in January there, started their 3-race win, a run, 10,000 to win, and another last lap pass as Bobby Pierce picked up the win there, passing Brandon Overton on the last lap. So two really good races there. Friday night, we dealt with the rain here. Volusia and Ocala both rained out. They were able to race out at East Bay, though, for the night number 2 of the King of the 360s. Aaron Reitzel won that one. Final night of Speed Weeks last night, Ocala, Florida. For the USAC non-wing sprints, Kyle Cummins picked up the win. They had a lengthy delay there in the B-main. A car went up into the catch fence on the front straightaway and tore down probably 25 feet of it. Scary incident. Fortunately, everybody was okay. Tampa, Florida, the final night of the King of the 360s, Sam Haferteef Jr. is crowned the king, winning that event there. And the final night at Barberville, Florida, for the Super Dart Car Series Big Block Modifieds, Matt Williamson, again with another last lap pass to win that feature event. And in the 20,000 to win World of Outlaw Case Construction Late Model Series, Hudson O'Neill drove from 23rd to the win. I believe there was only one caution in that race.
Race.
And that was a hell of a race. If you get a chance to see highlights of that one, it was
Wait a minute,
exciting.
I thought only guys up front win those races.
Yeah, I know. I had an argument with one of our old asphalt guys this week, Rich Bickle, and he told me that dirt racing doesn't have any passing. Well, I'm gonna find that race and send that to him so he can watch it. That is everything for Speed Weeks 2023. The guys get a couple weeks off here before they pick it back up in March.
It was the 58th World Series of Asphalt Racing at New Smyrna Speedway in Florida. We're going to give you the super late winners and pro late model winners. Starting last Sunday, William Sawalich, the 16-year-old, was the winner of the super late race, and in the pro lates, it was Carson Brown. On Monday night, William Byron won it going away, and Connor Jones won in the pro late models. Tuesday, they only ran the super lates. It was a 100-lapper, and William Byron once again was dominant. My God, you guys got to see Byron on Tuesday.
It was a little unfortunate that Bubba Pollard had the issue he did because he had a really strong race car, and one of his fender braces came loose and cut a tire on the left front. And otherwise, maybe that would have been a race. Even Williams said that afterwards. He wishes Bubba wouldn't have had that issue so he could have raced him out for it.
The prolates did not race on Tuesday night. Wednesday, both divisions raced. Casey Roderick was your winner in the supers, and Ryan Luza won in the prolates. Thursday, Casey Roderick won again. The prolates was won by Katie Hettinger. Friday night, they didn't run super lates, but the prolates ran, and it was Ryan Luza. Saturday, last night, it was William Sawalich winning his second time this week. The overall, Casey Roderick was the champion, and in the prolates, Connor Jones was the champion. Gabe Summers was down there, didn't have the greatest week last night, finished third for his best night of the week. And James Lynch had a kind of a coming out party. The guy's been racing in the Midwest Truck Series and had a super late model down there. A couple times he ran it. He looked awfully good. I think he was fast qualifier on Tuesday for that 100-lapper, wasn't he?
Second. I think he qualified second.
Well, he was last night. He got out to an early lead and walked away, and I couldn't help but think that nobody was in his ear telling him to back off and save his stuff for later in the race because first caution came up and they kind of ate him alive. But James Lynch looks like he's going to be something to be dealt with in the super late models. By the way, many times on this program, we wonder about young drivers coming up, and we say, well, it must be grandpa's money. Well, this week I found out through a friend of mine who knows this for sure where the money comes from for William Sawalich. Young guy, 16 years old, out of Minnesota, has good equipment and certainly exceptional talent. Turns out that young Sawalich's grandpa is the president CEO of Starkey Hearing Aids, one of the leading hearing aid companies on the face of the earth. And there's plenty of money there for William Sawalich. As you notice, he keeps getting better rides, and he's driving for this Donnie Wilson Motorsports, and certainly doing well with the thing. Everywhere he goes, he's one of the players. He's in it for the win. So the money seems to be well spent on that young man's career. And he, at 16, he can't even race in NASCAR for 2 more years. So I got a feeling you're going to see him win a lot of super late races between now and then. The boys are at the Radio Row in the fan zone in Daytona.
Mitch Haver from up there came down to run the pro lates. They had a hard crash in the first night in practice. The crew rebuilt the car. They made a bunch of races. They ended up getting involved in another wreck midweek. Mitch actually rung his bell pretty good and sprained his ankle, but he's okay. And the car's not. Both cars, they had 2 cars that were kind of tore up, and they're got to get ready now for the local season.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking when you drag a car that far and have to race against these experienced guys. Mitchell Haver doesn't have a whole lot of laps in a late model, in a pro late model, and kind of got himself in perhaps a little over his head. I don't know. Maybe that's saying too much, but he certainly learned in a hurry that those guys take this pretty seriously for sure. Mitch Haver, we're glad he's okay. How's that? We're going to sneak away and come back. Got a couple other good things on our list here. Hang in there.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship-winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company, in the heart of Wisconsin, is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at WagnerAutomotive.com.
Buckle up, get ready, get set, and get your tickets now as the NASCAR Xfinity Series returns to Wisconsin's Road America in Elkhart Lake, July 27th through the 29th. The smell of fresh rubber and food will fill the air for this weekend, along with the Porsche Carrera Cup for even more racing fun. An amazing, affordable weekend of family fun with camping, food, and more. Kids 16 and under get in free with 8 adults. Come for the experience, stay for the race. Get your tickets today at roadamerica.com. Your national park of speed.
4 seconds, Max off the wing, spins it out to Asija for 3, and it's blocked, and Wall with a tip now, and Rutgers wins it.
Time for the Badgers to get back on the winning track.
Sends it to Jordan Davis for 3, left side, got it!
The Wisconsin Badgers homestand continues as they host Iowa this Wednesday night.
We still got a lot of season left, so we can still turn it around, so we just keep our heads up, keep going.
Matt LePay's pregame show at 7, tip at 8 on Milwaukee's home for your Wisconsin Badgers. 97.3 The Game.
The chief operating officer of NASCAR, Steve O'Donnell, told people this week, told the press this week, that they're looking at one of these road course races in New York City. Really? Do you really need to do that? Isn't Pocono close enough so that anybody in New York as a NASCAR fan can drive to Pocono in a couple of hours and see it? Do we need a road course race in New York City? Well, how about this? Let's just use Chicago as a guinea pig here and see how that goes first. But I don't know if you guys saw this. They also talked about adding possible races in Denver and Seattle and possibly Mexico City and somewhere in Canada. And not if that isn't enough, they're talking about having a NASCAR International Series in the Middle East.
Let's hope a lot of this stuff is just pipe dreams. You know, I mean, let's get through the Chicago thing first. To say that the teams aren't overly excited about Chicago would probably be an understatement from what we've heard this week, because we've talked to a lot of them about it. I mean, just an example, the Xfinity drivers, truck drivers now, we're told when they show up to Chicago, they had a meeting on, I believe that was Friday morning, to discuss the season because they were all together for the first time, and they're going to have to drop all their stuff off, park their trucks like 3 miles away, and then they're not going to be able to come back in until after the concerts are over at about midnight. So to say those guys are a little perturbed about it is a big understatement.
Yeah, that's 40 people that drive a truck. I don't think.
Well, but it's the crews because you got to load all the stuff up. So the crews all have to hang around there and help them load it up. So we'll just see. Let's see how the race goes. Everybody's a little hesitant, and everybody always is a little hesitant because it's something brand new. So if it comes off without a hitch and is exciting, well, then we'll look forward. But let's not put the cart in front of the horse here and try to plan a whole bunch of these things before we even done one.
Before we even know what's going to happen, right? And Ed, this probably would be a half of a show if we worked on it, but NASCAR has talked about reducing the downforce configuration this year on short tracks and road courses, so that the racing is going to be significantly different on short tracks. Do we find this to be a last-second thing that we found in the Phoenix test, or do you think they've been working on this?
I think they're kind of working on it. I think the test had a lot to do with it. That's why they went out there, because obviously the racing on tracks like Phoenix and Richmond wasn't the greatest last year. I mean, it was pretty great everywhere else, and those are the ones that needed to be improved, and that's why they had that test out there with guys that could be able to give them decent feedback. I thought they liked the small spoiler was what the drivers liked. Some wanted no spoiler, I thought.
It's harder to
drive. They took a lot off as far as rear downforce is what they messed with by taking the things off the splitter on the bottom. The downforce part of the bottom of the back of the car, and also with the shorter spoilers. In fact, Keselowski said, let's just take the spoilers off. And they thought that'd be a great thing. So.
Well, they're still working on it. Phoenix is, I guess at 1 mile considered a short track, but I'm not sure that the configuration that they came up with here really was that much different, so we're going to have to watch. I think that's going to be a work in progress. Gentlemen, we're at a part in the program where we're going to have to tell everybody who we really think is going to win. Now, I have made a couple of bets at the nearby casino here. I got William Byron at 18-1, Chastain at 20, Alex Bowman at 25 from the pole. Ryan Preece I got at 33-1, and I put a shot at Jimmy Johnson. I got 35-1 for this thing. Dan,
so who are you picking, Todd?
I'm gonna. So who am I picking? Bubba Wallace. I'm picking Bubba Wallace. Dan,
I'm taking Jimmy Johnson. Dan,
do you want me to give you the odds real quick or no?
Go ahead.
I've got them all. Okay, starting from the back. Connor Daly, 350-1. Cody Ware, 350-1. B.J. McLeod, 350-1. Riley Herbst, 150-1. Ty Dillon, 150-1. Travis Pastrana,
150.
Yeah. Oh, that's a 77 car. Zane Smith, 80-1. Corey LaJoie, 80-1. Todd Gilliland, 66-1. Harrison Burton, 66-1. Noah Gragson, 40-1. I got him at 50. Justin Haley, A.J. Allmendinger, Jimmy Johnson, Ty Gibbs, all at 40-1. Ryan Preece, Eric Jones, Eric Almirola. That's a good one at 33-1. Almirola has been pretty strong all week. Same with Ricky Stenhouse at 33-1. Michael McDowell, 33-1. Chris Buescher, another car that's been strong all week, 33-1.
How much money did you spend?
300. No, this is just the odds that they are there. Chase Briscoe's at 28-1. Christopher Bell, 28-1. Martin Truex Jr., 25-1. Same with Austin Dillon and Alex Bowman, your pole sitter, 25-1. Kevin Harvick, 25-1. Tyler Reddick, 22-1. Austin Cindric, last year's winner, 20-1. Keselowski, 18-1. Bubba Wallace, 18-1. Ross Chastain, 16-1. Same with William Byron, 16-1. Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, 14-1. Busch opened up at 18. He's down to 14. Joey Logano, 14-1. Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin are your favorites at 12-1. Tells you what a crapshoot it is when your favorites are at 12-1.
No kidding. All right, Dan, who are you picking for the race today?
I'll go Ryan Blaney.
All right, and Brian?
Brad Keselowski. I think that'd be a cool one. Too bad he doesn't have the Kohler car, though.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Well, it'll be fun. By the way, Corey LaJoie jumps out at me at 80-1. He's been fairly good all week long.
Yeah, and he was right there in the truck race, too, on Friday.
Imagine.
But he's not a driver.
Well, who's going to work with him? It's all about who's going to work with him. So Jimmy Johnson starting from the back at 35-1. And what do you bet he's going to lead this thing before lap 50? How's that? It's just amazing. We appreciate everybody tuning into the program. And what we really want you to remember is that real race cars have doors, even if they do climb in through the windows. Let's Talk NASCAR is produced and directed by Dangerous Dan Margetta. Our engineer is Matt Losi. For the entire group, we appreciate you tuning into the program. Let's hope for a good, safe race today, everybody. See you next week.
This program has come to you live from multiple locations via Skype. Any and all comments expressed on this show do not necessarily express the opinions of this station, its employees, or advertisers. Your comments are always welcome at mail@ltnradionetwork.com. Find us at facebook.com/LTN Radio Network. And thank you for your support since 1985. Tune in again next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time for the LTN Hour on the LTN Radio Network.